Welcome everybody to another shocking episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I got two more stories coming from the Alabama prison system. We've covered a lot of stories recently about some inmates dying, and we got another one. Not to mention what took place before it happened. Not only that, but another inmate ends up dying in prison as well and being returned to his family missing all of his organs. We're gonna get there, man. This is absolutely unreal. Like I said, 4 years ago, when I made my top 10 list of most dangerous prisons in Alabama was number 1, look what's taking place now. I know a up system when I see one, and I seen all this coming, minus the organ issue. We're gonna get there. I got a bunch to read and a lot of 2 cents to give. So if this is what you're into, all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Now, the story begins with Mr. Adam Clifton Bond. And in order to get a full scope of what's going on here, we got to start with him doing time at Donaldson Correctional Facility. Before he passed away, he was attacked at that prison, where he was stabbed and beaten with a lead pipe so bad that he had to undergo brain surgery. He survived, believe it or not, but the story made headlines. Rebecca Crafton and his aunt Barbara Ann Turner never got a call from the facility saying, hey, your son just went through brain surgery. Nope, they had to get a call from another incarcerated inmate to tell them exactly what happened to their family member. Now, I know this is prison and there's protocols in place, but something traumatic like this happening, I feel like the family should be notified immediately. Right? That could be his last moments alive. They should have the family members there. Either way, like I said, he survives this attack, and what happens after this is fishy, to say the least. The article says that Bond was hospitalized for over 12 days, during which Crafton and Turner struggled to get information about their loved one's condition. 12 days with nobody saying nothing. She begged and pleaded to see her son, but Donaldson's warden said no visitations. Now it says here that ADOC's visitation policy regarding outside hospitalization visits states that an inmate confined to an outside hospital may only be allowed a visit if the attending physician states that an inmate is in terminal, life-threatening situation. But this is the key, the warden still has to approve it. So it was all up to the warden. If you're to ask me, the warden's heartless. That's just my 2 cents. Now, Mr. Bond survives this attack, right? And his family's trying to get him to a medical prison, right? After you get brain surgery, you don't want to go straight to the GP main line of a maximum security unit. But the warden said no and transferred him to St. Clair Correctional Facility, where they would find him dead. Keep in mind, this facility is a maximum security unit known for its violence. Not to mention, he was put in one of the most violent dorms. Right after brain surgery, ladies and gentlemen, and shortly after, they find him dead. Now, the story takes another U-turn. Turns out that Bond's family members and attorneys sent an email to Alabama Department of Corrections 7 days before his death, stating that he said he was in imminent danger and he was at fear of his life from certain correctional officers. It says in the article that inmates had told Adam that these employees were discussing wanting to get him off camera, meaning a blind spot, and this is a technique that even inmates do to attack someone to make sure that they don't get caught for it. But he said that they were going to retaliate against him for trying to get medical attention for another inmate. So if you were to ask me, with everything so far, his family not being notified of the attack, his family not being allowed to go see him after the attack, his family getting denied for him to be transferred to a medical unit, and then gets transferred to one of the most violent prisons in Alabama, I mean, all this, not including the letter that was sent to the guards a week prior and then he dies mysteriously. All that, if you were to ask me, is screaming, and this is just my 2 cents, trying to clean up shop to make sure nobody goes to prison. Let me know in the comment sections what you think. I mean, we're not stupid here. Like we say all the time, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, chances are that bitch is a duck. Now, like I said, there's another story that's kind of tangled in with this one. It's actually brought up by the attorney of Mr. Bond. She's trying to get the autopsy of him halted because it turns out she's in separate litigation against the state when it comes to autopsies. We covered a story the other day about, I believe his name was Mr. Dotson, another inmate that died in Alabama. He was returned to his family missing a heart. And unless there's a new update, they're still trying to find it. Not to mention another situation, Mr. Charles Edwards, 74. He was an inmate in Alabama prison system as well, and when he passed away, his body was returned to the family missing all of his internal organs, except for his eyes. So we've been covering so many stories with Alabama, and it seems like they're all kind of starting to tie together. I got a feeling that this is much deeper and darker than any of us could ever imagine. There's no way that all this is coincidence. All these guys just dying and missing organs all of a sudden. I mean, I'm a gambling man. If I were to bet it all, look, there's some black market selling going on here. Just my 2 cents. Maybe I've seen too many movies and read too many scary books. But you gotta understand, man, there is a huge market for this type of stuff, so it's definitely a possibility. I mean, you can go to Florida and get like $2,000 for a human skull. But we can't stamp anything yet. I'm sure after investigations go through, some more stuff's going to come to the light. As a matter of fact, I read an article that the feds are threatening to take over the Alabama prison system because of all the violence and tomfoolery that's going on. And not to mention, another thing that they're trying to use as a remedy for all this is building a $1 billion prison, a new one in Alabama. Of course, that will help with living conditions and stuff like that. But from every article that I've read, it's not because of the living conditions that these guys are dying for the most part. They're saying it's because they're understaffed. Well, why don't you tap into that $1 billion that you got for the new prison and make sure you get some good guards, right? I don't know. Like I said, I got a lot of 2 cents in this episode, but I would love to hear yours. So please let me know in the comments section below what you think on all this. Now, one more thing that kind of ties all this together, and I'll give you something else to think about. Let's jump back into 74-year-old Mr. Edwards' situation, the individual that was returned with all of his internal organs missing. In the article, it says that his family reached out to the University of Alabama to return his organs, but they said they never had them. Why are they reaching out to the university? Why is the university doing autopsies on inmates? University of Alabama is among providers that, consistent with Alabama law, conduct autopsies of incarcerated persons at the direction of the state of Alabama. A panel of medical ethicists reviewed and endorsed our protocols regarding autopsies conducted for incarcerated persons. It says once an inmate dies, the body is transported to the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, or UAB, for autopsy, dependent on several factors, including but not limited to region and whether the death is unlawful, suspicious, or natural. All that's about to be investigated with a fine-tooth comb, if I were to guess. And that's kind of answering some questions that people asked me in the comment section the last one when I brought up the University of Alabama as to why they're even getting these bodies to begin with. But keep in mind, they said they never got Edwards' body parts. They have no idea where they're at. So who knows what's going on? I just know there's a big veil there, and sooner or later it's going to be uncovered. And when it does, I got a feeling it's going to blow us out the water, because I hate to reiterate myself, I've been to prison 2 times and I can't fathom any of this stuff happening. Inmate on inmate homicides, yeah, but all these body parts missing and stuff, man, nah. But that's the bulk of it, and if there's any more information coming about with these stories, I'll be sure to bring it y'all's way. And of course, once again, condolences go out to all the loved ones having to go through all this. But stay tuned, I got plenty more content coming your way. And as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free, especially in Alabama.